Yo, what's up? Okay, let me ask you something. Have you ever looked at a table inside of Power BI or a streaming dataset inside of Fabric and you just thought, I just wish I could see this on a map? Well, this is exactly that. This is Fabric Maps. With maps, you can monitor live events and understand what's happening geographically by combining the static data from a Lakehouse and also some live data from an Eventhouse. It's gonna refresh automatically and you can just see everything right there. There's no custom visuals, no external tools, and no hacks. So let me show you how I set this up. Enough of all this talking, you know what we like to do here at GuideCube. Let's do what? Let's just head over to my laptop. So now I'm inside of my workspace and I've already created a map here, but the way you do this is just by clicking new item, and then you're gonna see there's this new kid in town, and that is the map. So you just choose that one, you give it a good name. I'm gonna call it live shipments, and here you see the setup. So what we can do now is that we can add some static data from our Lakehouse. So I am gonna choose some data from the shipment Lakehouse that I already have set up here. Here we see I have some geospatial data. So I have routes and facilities. Now what I can do is that I can just click the ellipsis and decide to show on map. And here you see that we have some facilities inside of the Seattle area. And I'm also going to add the routes show on map like that. Ta-da! Now that was the static data, but now we also have some real-time data here with the Eventhouse data. Now to make that happen, let's go back to my workspace. So the first thing I did was to create a Lakehouse called shipment. And here you see that I already have some data that's being ingested. But if I open up the KQL Database shipment, you see that I have a table here called Eventhouse shipment leg live. So this is the data that I have coming in, showing, these shipments that are in transit and also with some sort of status if they're delayed or delivered or picked up and so on. Now, this data specifically is simulated, and I generated that data using a notebook that you see here. Now, if I run this notebook, it's going to generate this sample data for us and having these events sent to our Custo table. Now, I created the Eventhouse and I also created some sample data that's coming into my table. Now, what I need to create for this to be visible inside of the map, I have to create a query set. So let's do that together. Inside of my query set here, this is the query I'm running. I am taking the 10 newest ingested data and making sure that I am pulling in latitude and longitude from that sample data. If I run this, you're gonna see that we have these events coming in. Okay, that's cool. And now if we go back to our maps, I can then go to Eventhouse, I can add data items. I'm going to choose the shipment KQL database, and then I'm going to find that query set that we just created. So inside here, we have the shipment query set, and this is the one that I want to use, shipment leg GPS live, and then I just hit show on map. That looks correct, hit next. And now we need to map the latitude and longitude columns. So that's why it was important for us to bring that in. So I'm going to choose latitude here, longitude there, and I want this to refresh every 5 seconds and hit next. And then we're gonna add that to the map. Boom, like that. Now we have everything inside of the map, but it doesn't look that cool. So we need to do some adjustments visually here, I think. So first of all, if I drag and drop this, I can choose the placement of the layers. So I want the live data to be on top. And then also we can do some visual changes here. For facilities, let's make this a bit more Gallon cube colors. We could even choose to use a heat map like that, but I want to do bubbles. Let's make the stroke width a bit lower. And as you can see, there's more cool things you could do. I could also have decided the size by data specifically. Now, I don't really have anything that will make sense for the facilities, but I could also, if I wanted to enable clustering like this, to have it a bit cleaner, if that made sense. Let's make it also a tiny bit see-through like that. And then let's go to routes. Let's also do some line settings here. I want the strokes to be a little bit thinner, and also let's do it a bit see-through, and let's make it more Gallon cube. Wow, amazing. Okay, but now we need the live data to be a bit more striking. So let's change this one up a bit as well. Let's make the stroke width here a bit stronger. And this is also cool. You can then decide the color based on one of the data points. I'm going to choose colors based on status. So for us, that will mean, depending on the different colors, this data would then have maybe a delay at this point, something delayed it over here, and then it was back in transit, and so on. So there's a bunch of different stuff visually that you can play around with to make this awesome and beautiful. Now, inside of map settings, you can also decide what type of style you want. Maybe you want a satellite view or night view, but I like the grayscale, so I'm going to keep it like that. And there's also some other settings that you can play around with here. Amazing, let's save this map. And now if I want to share this with anyone, because I've made this beautiful map, of course I want everyone to see this. Then you can share it directly with someone in your organization. I'm going to share this with Patrick. And I mean, he can edit and also reshare. I think that's fine. Or you can also add maps to your organizational apps. We already did the video on that. You can go check that out if you're interested. A few things to keep in mind. If you want to take advantage of Fabric Maps, your admin need to enable that inside of the admin portal. And also the Fabric Map feature is still in preview. But now you can combine your static data from the Lakehouses and your real-time data from event streams. And that's not just cool, it's like operational intelligence. If you're working with anything operational data or real-time data, you should probably be testing this right now. If you want to see more real-time videos, hit that subscribe button. And as always, from Adam, Patrick, and this girl right here, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!